Welcome back to Theme Park Wizard. We're here with the Vash. Got to talk about a very interesting topic today: the Wall Street article that came out with the Wall Street Journal came with an article, a scathing article. Say it with me, Vash. A scathing article, and we're going to talk all about it, about Walt Disney Imagineering. Let's get into it. Vash, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much. I'm coming in on the Endor Express. I'm ready to break this thing down with everybody here. This was an amazing article that was very revelatory. It really revealed quite a bit that, we've been talking about, certainly, Wizard. But a lot of people who have been tracking the history of WDI in this past decade have been talking about and hearing rumblings of. This actually confirmed much of that reporting, and I can't wait to get into it.
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic, and let's go ahead and talk about it because there's some big news here. Now, Doctor, do you have the article, or do you want me to pull it up? Oh,
sorry about that. Let me go ahead and see if I can bring it up on my end. Actually, I was not expecting to share it, but I will go ahead and share it with you. That way we can go over it piece by piece. So we can't share the Wall Street Journal because that's under, that's locked down there. You need a membership or a subscription in order to see that article. But I guess MSN was kind enough to repost it on their end here. So let's go ahead and let me see if I can get you the screen share here. I do apologize, guys. Give us a moment. Thank you so much for showing me the screen share tips there, StreamYard. That's very handy information. Okay, and then boom, there you go.
Boom, crushed. A 3,000 team person working in secretly at Disney Magic. There's Lion King, Doctor. There it is.
Yes. So this is an article by Ben Fritz right here, which, by the way, he's very proud of this article, and he should be. Apparently, he got many people statements from them, not reflected in this article. Those sources are kept private. But he was able to get a lot of commentary by some people, which we'll talk about in a moment. But this article starts out very interestingly, talking about this new cruise ship. I believe the Adventure, that's going to be sailing out of Singapore, if I'm not mistaken. This is going to be Disney's first cruise sailing out of this region of the world. But what's most important here is that this was bought for a song and dance by the Bob Chapek era. Now, I will say Josh Imara was still in charge of the theme park division, and that's going to be a key point that we're going to have to make over and over again in this article. But Bob Chapek, under his direction, was able to secure this vessel that was about to be scrapped. Actually, it was partially built, and Disney was able to pick it up for, I believe, $40 million, as what's listed here. Now, what's very interesting is that they've had to completely transform this inside and out. And they were thinking, well, a vessel of this size, to build it from scratch, I mean, you're talking about, this is the largest vessel they've ever built, certainly the most densely packed and so forth. So, I mean, I think they were predicting anywhere well over $2 billion. So, to reimagine this vessel would have been about $1 billion. At least that was the original projection. Unfortunately, it has come in now at $1.8 billion. And that's kind of the tone setting for this article here.
That's big. That is
what do you think about that?
Money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's so. You said how much is a new cruise ship?
So I believe a cruise ship of this type, I think Ben Fritz actually provides us a little bit of commentary on that. Let me see if I can find it here. Let's see. Yeah, so 1.8 is where it came in, but I thought they said that building it from scratch, Bruce Vaughn has said they would have saved a ton of money and specifically a ton of time. But you're talking about, I thought it was like $2 billion. So
did the same to build it from scratch into what they did here?
Right. Did the investment actually pay off? This is very interesting because the theme of this article is how Imagineering will get themselves into projects, and then those costs will obviously inflate. Now, again, this is custom work, right? This is stuff that has to be custom designed. in many cases for the park that it's going in, or at least the original park that's going in. Maybe you get a retrofit every once in a while, like Tron Light Cycle Run, for example. That's kind of rare. A lot of these things are going in to places built for their environments. We certainly saw that with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge over at Disneyland, and you could see a little bit of retrofitting for Disney's Hollywood Studios later on. But with a custom set of custom projects, you're always going to have these costs kind of inflate, because you're going to have technological issues, you're going to have construction issues. Look at the cost of construction, what happened during around the pandemic, right? I think we saw construction costs and materials for those, in some cases, double or even triple. So those kind of inflationary things that happen, we've long associated Walt Disney Imagineering with that, and this article makes no bones about it. That's what's going on. But this article brings up something, Wizard, that I thought was really interesting, and a few specific Imagineers have very deep problems with. Jim Shull, Joe Rohde, they're talking about this concept that's featured in the article. It's called, I believe it's progressive seduction. Is that right?
They're making their tweets about. Explain it. What is that?
Right. So let me see if I can get Ben Fritz his word on this, because I don't want to take him out of tone here. Yeah, here we go. I did a little Control F there for you. Some Imagineers sometimes saw executives as an obstacle that needed to be overcome. They sometimes used a process known internally as progressive seduction to get approval for projects at a smaller scale, and then suggest one seemingly small improvement at a time until it was as big as they actually wanted to be. A person with knowledge said of the matter. Okay, so what they're saying is that this isn't like cost overruns, right? This isn't like last minute things where it's like, hey, we thought the price of lumber was going to be this, and then, we have a shortage, and now it's triple the price. That's not what progressive seduction is. Progressive seduction is this idea that an Imagineer, knowing that he's underbidding a project, he is listing a cost for a project that he knows is too low, and that he'll work up slowly as the project develops. Right? It'll just be like, hey, executive, can we get, I don't know, this shop in this place that we weren't going to get? This is going to be a high revenue item for us. We didn't include this as part of the plans. I mean, according to this progressive seduction, maybe it was part of the plans. Maybe they took it out in order to add to it later, right? But under this framework, it's saying like, okay, let's go ahead and add this shop that we didn't add before, but we originally wanted. So we'll get that funding on the back end. So instead of being funded $1 billion, maybe it's 1.2, something like that. That's in that scenario what progressive seduction is. And Jim Shull is calling it fraud, which I don't know if I would go that far, but he's saying he never saw it. Joe Rohde said he's seen it once. And again, he worked there for well over 40 years. So he only saw this once. And
those are pretty trustworthy dudes.
Right. They're highly respected, as some people would say, right? These guys are long tenured. These guys have worked on a myriad of projects. By the way, it's very difficult to have a long-standing career at WDI, because remember, projects people are hired on when those projects are in development or in process or in progress, and then when those projects end, sometimes they're let go. We certainly saw that with like Epcot, for example. I think we saw that with Disneyland Paris. We saw WDI staff up and then reduce. So to have a uncontested this kind of this career in which you're consistently working for projects under WDI for 40 years is actually really rare. And Joe Rohde was one of those guys. He's saying he only saw it once, and that was early on in his career. And he's like, look, you are killing your reputation, your credibility with those executives if you keep pulling those things. It doesn't last very long. And he was also talking about how there's this bias against artists in the field that they work in, particularly from executives. And so why would you add on to that or further damage that reputation by employing tactics like this? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't, because you think, they're not silly. They'd catch on eventually. And yeah, I don't think they would allow it to keep happening. So yeah, like I think Joe already said that, I don't think that guy lasted too long, the one that did it. So Yeah, I don't think it's as big of a problem as the person who gave the source to write this article suggested. Wink, wink.
Right, and so that's caused a lot of stir. It's caused a lot of controversy. A lot of people are hitting the pause button on this specific article and going, "Oh, wait a minute, hold on here. We have big, trustworthy guys coming out and saying that this never happened. Why are you suggesting something that was a practice that is, I mean, by all accounts, very rare, as something that you're kind of framing it as something that happens more than once or happens regularly. And that's, I mean, according to the people who have commented on this, it's simply not true. Now, this is what gets us into this kind of other area of the article. We're going to be diving into the actual, the specific points brought up here in just a moment. But I kind of want to go broad just for a second. I just want to go ahead and step back from this article because you have to think about the context by which this article has been delivered. This is something that, yeah, some people are saying, oh, well, look, it's showcasing Josh Giamaro turning WDI around, and this is setting him up for to be the next CEO. I disagree. I don't look at it that way. I look at this as an expose that is dissecting WDI, that is pointing out the flaws of their management, the flaws of how they've operated, and highlighting the chaotic nature of WDI over this past 10 years. And by the way, yes, this was under the Chapek era. That's true. But Josh Giamaro takes the top spot, I believe, in 2020. So at least for half of those years, it's Josh Giamaro's company. And sure, you have quotes out there. Right? Exactly. And by the way, Josh Giamaro, it's not like he wasn't associated with the parks until that point. He was the head of Disneyland for, I believe, I think it was less than a year, and I do believe he was
Disney World too.
Right, for a very short window. Yeah. And obviously, Chapek was handed the reins by Bob Iger, handed the CEO-ship, and at that moment, I think it was less than a week after that announcement, Josh Giamaro was made the head of the experiences division. Okay. So he was there this entire time. And some of the things brought up in this article are talking about like, oh, well, the failed Lake Nona, transplanting of Imagineers, right? They were going to move the Imagineers out of 1401 Flower Street in Glendale, California. They were going to move them, transplant them over to Lake Nona, Florida. That was this big move that was announced. I want to say, was that 2021 or 2022? I can't remember.
I think it was 2021, if I remember.
I think it was too, but think about this. People lay that on the feet of Bob Chapek. Mm-hmm. But remember that letter, that very first letter that was delivered to Imagineers and then picked up by the press. That letter that was delivered to the Imagineers saying that you had to move within 18 months or lose your job. Mm-hmm. Was delivered by Josh Giamaro. It's his letter.
That's right.
That was Josh Giamaro's letter telling people, hey, this firm that we've had out in California ever since the 1950s, you're all going to have to be, pick up sticks and set up in Florida. Otherwise, you're gone. And this was very interesting, too. Florida real estate was going through the roof at this time. And California real estate, I mean, it's always been on a enhanced trajectory when it comes to home values and so forth. Imagineers sold their houses. Some of them have been in the family for generations in order to make this move out to Lake Nona. And then Disney cancels it. Who canceled it? Wizard? Who was in charge of Imagineering? Oh, yeah, it was Joshy Boy, wasn't it?
And then those Josh had to come back, or if they wanted to come back to California, then their house is sold. Then it's much more expensive to get a new one.
Of course, and that's why you have lawsuits pending in court right now over this issue, over the issue of Imagineers who were told under no uncertain terms that you had to make a decision within 18 months or lose your job. Some people did. And unfortunately, they lost their homes because of it. That's not cool. But again, all of that is under the umbrella of Josh Giamaro. Now, I understand the CEO position changed in all of that time, but there's been one constant, and that's been Josh, and
Fun
that really speaks to
fact,
the heart of this
I
issue.
knew one of those Imagineers that I was faced that choice, and they went out to Florida and looked at real estate, almost wanting to make moves, and they decided not to, so they just quit WDI instead. Very
Right. Well, I mean, why wouldn't you? Why would you stay? If you're going to play around with people's livelihoods in the way that they have in this disorganized fashion, why would you stay? Clearly, they don't value your employment there if they're
And
going to
that's
treat
when
you like that.
that's when we saw tons of them leave in droves.
So, tons of them leave in droves. Some of them sue, and that's the thing. Between COVID, between Lake Nona, between this very cost conscious era of Imagineering, which started really getting really bad with Bob Chapek, but had been occurring for a little while. They lost about 90% of their Imagineers. So the article references that Imagineering has somewhere around 3,000. Imagine losing thousands of people, and that's from what I understand.
Right at the time when another company was ramping up operations as they're building a new theme park, so there's open jobs ready to go.
Sure, and who wouldn't want to go to Universal? which this article actually does mention that competition has been increasing because Universal has been so aggressive with their theme park projects. Now, Wizard, who would want Imagineering's dirty laundry aired at this specific time? Remember, this is 2026. Go ahead there, Wizard.
Oh, I know a certain woman in the CEO race, Dana Walden, handling a somewhat fledgling studio division, and someone who's losing the race currently.
Right. We have just seen, I think it was it the Hollywood Reporter, Business Insider? I can't remember. But you had a poll conducted very recently by one of the major news outlets. And it was conducting a poll with 700 Hollywood aficionados. And those range from journalists, executives, former executives, current executives, and so forth. And they were polled recently. Now, every single year when they poll these 700 executives, they talk about, the topics of the day, obviously, and they did talk about Warner Brothers Discovery and all of that. But they always bring up, who do you think is going to be the next CEO for the Walt Disney Company? And every single time,
Josh is winning.
No. Josh was never leader in that poll. It was actually Dana Walden who was leading that poll every single year. This was the first year, Wizard.
That Josh won. I was winning. Yes,
correct.
I remember that article. I think it was the Reporter, Hollywood Reporter. But wow, because this is the first one. Interesting.
This is the first one. So think about that, Wizard. You have, this is a very contested race. Dana Walden knows this is my only shot. I have to make a stand. I have to not only stand up myself, which is why she's conducted interviews very recently with some media out there, but also too, I have to take down my competition. I have to build myself up, take my competition down. So this is positioned perfectly as a way to criticize WDI under the direction of Josh D'Amaro. Yes, things are starting to kind of turn around, but as this article points out, not everything. For example, Tomorrowland. Let's go ahead and get into that, Wizard.
Yes, that one is very interesting.
This article makes reference
right now at the parks. You can see the remnants of that because the wall's still up.
Absolutely. Let me see if I can actually get that wall up so that everybody knows what we're actually talking about here when we refer to the wall. If you remember the entrance to Tomorrowland, there was a series of French fry rocks, as they were lovingly called, around the entrance of Tomorrowland, right around the Astro Orbiter. And a lot of people didn't like them, not because they didn't look good. Design-wise, they actually looked very interesting, especially when you saw it from that front profile there. The bigger concern was crowd control. It was very difficult to navigate around that area with those rocks. And it was kind of like, guys, this is one of the most attended theme parks in the world. Do we really need to have these rocks there? Apparently not. And they did remove them. Now, that was all done under this concept that they were going to redo at least the entrance of Tomorrowland.
And this was in 2019, everybody. They started the demolition part for these rocks.
Correct.
It will be completed in spring 2020, the new entrance.
I'm still trying to find this.
2020. Giggity.
Spring 2020. Hang on. Oh, why do I have this? Okay, concept art wall. Let me see if I can find it. Can I find it?
The reason the wall was still
Yes, here we
up is because they took down the rocks, but hiding in those rocks was the control box for the Astro Orbiter, like some important ride equipment. So that's why the wall currently, because this wall is hiding this box that's still there, and it's embarrassing. Even more embarrassing is that this concept. You see here, it was starting to fade. It was starting to fade a while ago. And I think it's fake, and Disney's too bad, and people were pointing out on Twitter. And then a day later, after it post on Twitter, Disney refreshed the concept art and put the same thing up brand new.
Yeah, let me see if I can find my tweet showing this, because when you describe it, Wizard, it is unbelievable. But it's certainly the case. Man, I don't have it. I have it somewhere in my assets, folks, guys. I do apologize. I probably should have come prepared with that specific thing, but you can see this. You can see this artwork here. I have a tweet that I put out, and you can see that this artwork and this wall have remained since 2019. Now, like Wizard mentioned, they have replaced this artwork before because it faded so badly. People were complaining about the wall itself, and like Wizard pointed out, they didn't actually address the complaints, that being the wall. They addressed the concept art that had been, well, it was in a state of embarrassment, actually. So there you go. So this article, this Wall Street Journal article actually goes in and talks about how Disney said no to a proposed Tomorrowland overhaul. And Wizard, I remember around this time, around 2019, where this entrance was supposed to shepherd a complete overhaul of Tomorrowland with it, right?
Mm-hmm. That little mid-century modern theme that they're going along there. Something what you see like in downtown Disney currently. Correct.
It was supposed to be a very mid-century modern.
Here it is. Oh boy. Okay, I have it right here. From Peter, November 18th, 2023. Let me go ahead and let's do. Here we go. Boop and boom. Okay, look at this. Here it is. So look at the left side. This is what it looked like, guys.
Yes, there you go. Perfect. Boom.
I mean, that's horrible. And then all of a sudden,
it's crazy.
People were complaining, and all of a sudden, it looked like that again. But the walls were still there.
The wall was still there. The concept art for this faded and died in the time that they haven't done anything like. Now, Wizard, at the same time that this goes up, this wall goes up, right? We start to see like the ground clearing for Epic Universe. So we're right about to get to vertical construction at that time. Wizard, they built an entire theme park and opened it to the public in the time that this wall has actually been there. Why? We're going to discover this in this Imagineering article right here from the Wall Street Journal. Again, Ben Fritz. Proposals by Imagineers to refurbish Disneyland's aging Tomorrowland were also turned down, as executives calculated it wouldn't do enough to increase attendance. Wizard, we now have official confirmation on a proposed Tomorrowland project. This was going to be here. It didn't end up showing up. Do you take that at face value there, Wizard? What are your response, your thoughts, please?
Oh, yes, I definitely, because look, so many people were reporting it. My chat was reporting it all. No. Insiders on the forums that were reporting a new Tomorrowland was coming and expected to be announced at D23 way back then. And now rooms of a version of a People Mover coming back as all this great stuff in 3 different versions. Then there's the Buzz Lightyear or Tomorrowland thing. So I feel like there's not just one, but many concepts turned down here. And apparently, well, I guess we weren't sure why until now. It wouldn't do enough to increase attendance. So I guess there wasn't enough Lightning Lane attractions in there, maybe just 1 or 2, because they clearly don't. Seems like they want a direct revenue stream from every new thing they make here. So
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
this sentence confirms it.
And this is the calculus for not only Imagineering, but the Walt Disney Company in general, but mainly the Experiences Division. The Experiences Division is, we don't invest in anything, like Wizard pointed out there, unless it's a revenue driver. We don't invest into anything unless it's going to turn a profit, unless we can actually make money from it. And we're going to enact a bunch of cost-saving measures and a bunch of cuts and a bunch of different operational changes to squeeze out as much revenue from this division as humanly possible. And that's what we've seen. We have seen over the last 10 years, Wizard, just this cutting and cutting and cutting. I mean, look at Theme Park IQ has a great video that he has on his Twitter account. Definitely check him out, folks.
New foods that were cut. That was
right,
terrible.
exactly.
That was like
and none of the
or something. That was a lot of food.
They altered so many different menus, so many different dishes, so many different food items, Wizard, either cut entirely or altered in some way. None of it was positive for the guests. Not a single change. With all of those changes were positive for the guests. They have cut back on quality. I mean, small things like crinkle fries with your meal, now regular fries. You have like rice being the replacement for mashed potatoes and gravy for items at Blue Bayou of all places. You have a swath of different things. The Tatooine Sunset cut from Galaxy's Edge, not offering anymore.
These crinkle cut fries, apparently they were very, very popular. Fresh Bake was very upset. He even cursed on his tweet. And then people are saying, yeah, these are the best quick service fries on property. The tots are gone too. Terrible.
And this is all, by the way, because they're trying to maximize revenue. And this is after these food changes. This is after they just increased prices all over the place. What, 6 months ago? So now we've increased the prices, and now we've reduced quality or even items entirely. We've done this within 6 months period. This is the active mindset of the managing class over there at not just Imagineering, but the theme park division, the experience division, the guys operating these parks day in and day out, and everybody around them. I mean, this is what they're doing. This is why Jeff Valley comes out and says, well, Rivers of America, Walt Disney World is underutilized. This is what they're talking about. This is it. They're not doing anything, guys, anymore, unless there's a direct revenue stream around it. Now, should they do that? I mean, look, these investments, they do take up a lot of money. There's no question about that. And this article right here actually talks about the metric by which these Imagineers are judged. There's 2 different ways. It's like, look, this is a division that only takes money, doesn't make money, and so forth. So we're going to cut these things back. But Imagineers have this different calculus, and they say, hey, look at the long-term value that these investments make, right? Look. And they're right. Look at Radiator Springs Racers, Wizard. Radiator Springs Racers opened at Disney California Adventure in 2012. Wizard, ever since they started selling Lightning Lanes for that, they sell Lightning Lanes consistently for that attraction. So, and that was years, almost a decade. When that ride opened, it was almost a decade until they enacted such policies. But you can see the long-term value that ride, even though it's very expensive, that was able to add to the park. And that's what Imagineering's saying. They're saying, look, why are you grading us on like a 5-year time span? For example, Wizard, I have heard for years now, this is going back 15 years, Imagineering, the people who approve projects, don't approve them unless they are guaranteed to earn their money back and more within 5 years.
Interesting. Which is interesting. That's very interesting because he used Radiator Springs racers, but look, I have some even longer examples. Some 60 plus years in the making. Okay. People
Right.
get lightning lanes for a Thunder Mountain or Haunted Mansion, and Space Mountain and Matterhorn. And those things are one original attractions, which I know they talk about in this article too, but also things that have been around for 60 years and now they're making money. So I really hope they adopt that, go back to adopting the mindset of long-term game versus 5 years or
Yes.
less game.
I mean, it's crazy. When people are looking at a vacation, right, and they're looking at, okay, should we justify buying a multi-day pass for Walt Disney World for something like Animal Kingdom, right? A lot of people are going to go, well, especially those who haven't maybe seen the recent enhancements to that specific park, they're going to go, well, wait a minute, that's where Expedition Everest is, a ride that opened in 2005 or 2006, I think, or something like Pandora, right, that opened in 2017. It's like, yeah, though that park is worth going to if you haven't seen those attractions for those set attractions, and that's the case that Imagineering is bringing out here. And I think it's a correct one to make. But you have a lot of short-term thinking executives. You have a lot of executives who are working at this at Imagineering and other parts of Disney that aren't there for the long haul, and they're just there to make their mark and move on. Unfortunately, that exists at Imagineering, but definitely within the halls of the people who actually approve or disapprove of these projects.
So with that mindset, they think, so I guess they're assuming the Encanto ride and the Adventures rides and the Coco rides and the Avatar rides and the Indiana Jones, they're assuming they're going to make their money back in 5 years with all these things, basically with that mindset, correct?
Yes. And they're also things that showcases the company's output creatively. So this article does reference the change in mindset here between original projects and projects based on an IP, right? So when Bob Iger came in, remember he comes in around 2005. What's the attraction that opens around that time?
Expedition Everest.
Right. And the company spent well over $100 million in bringing that to fruition. And I mean, that attraction is it is to this day extremely impressive and a showcase of the technological wizardry of WTI. I mean, it really is a marvel, a modern marvel for sure. Discovery, I believe there's that old Discovery, what is it, a documentary that goes into the making of it. It's really, truly quite astounding. But from Bob Iger's point of view, it's like, look, we're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars bringing this almost 200-foot tall, replica of, the Everest mountain to life in this theme park. And yet it's not based around an IP. It doesn't showcase the company's film product or television product or whatever. It's like, why are we doing this? The company should have its synergies in line, and everything that we do should showcase who we are as a brand, as a creative company, etc. And so now it's like, you don't get anything approved at WDI unless there's a movie tie-in, unless it's somehow showcasing, in a lot of cases, the acquisitions that Bob Iger's made, like Star Wars, like Marvel, like Pixar. And what did we see, Wizard, in the first couple of years of Bob Iger's tenure? We saw Cars Land, we saw Finding Nemo Submarine Voyage, we saw, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge eventually, we saw Pandora, which... Okay, let's take Pandora out of it because it was before the acquisition, but still.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely a showcase of the company's product and the company's direction as a whole.
Which is, again, interesting because then you have Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which doesn't showcase good animatronics at all. And then you have Tiana Zoo, and then they canceled her series. So it's not even focused on the movie that they made.
Exactly, and that's, I love how you bring that up too. We'll circle back to the concept of original attractions in just a moment, but I want to really key in on that with Tiana's Bay Adventure. Okay, remember how we brought up Tomorrowland and how it's like Tomorrowland that doesn't increase attendance, and it's like, is Tiana's Bayou Adventure going to increase attendance? You could make the same argument for that, because obviously capacity for that attraction is going to be capped at whatever Splash Mountain was. So you
One
might
could argue it was a little bit less with all the breakdowns.
Right, exactly. I think that Park Place ran a story suggesting that it was a number one attraction that was down at Walt Disney World. I'm not sure if that was actually the case. I haven't reviewed that story or that information, but it wouldn't surprise me. In Disneyland, we know that Theme Park IQ has done a very in-depth analysis on attractions with the most downtime, and I think it was number 9 out of 60, so it's very high up there on that list, especially for something that was
a boat just got flooded and sunk just last
right
week.
right that attraction has had a number of issues, and it's like, well, why did you do that? Like, why did you undertake a project like that if you knew it wasn't going to be an attendance driver? And certainly there were other things involved in that decision.
If they were to go to their original thinking, they would have done what I'm sure a lot of people were suggesting, and that's built a lovely, beautiful new ride for Tiana that expands the park,
right?
And that does increase attendance, and maybe driving gets a whole little mini land or something.
Right, exactly. And unfortunately, we never saw that, and very unfortunate to Tiana. I don't think she really got the ride that not only that she deserved, but also that people really wanted to see from that franchise. I think Tiana's Bayou Adventure is not the best reflection of that. But getting back to original concepts and so forth, I believe it was Barbara Boza, who, by the way, she was the gal that switched with Bob Weiss with Gensler back in the day. I believe she was a Gensler executive. And she comes in, very brief time with Imagineering, but she was the one, which I was very surprised by this, she was the one saying, why don't we do original attractions anymore? And that's really profound for architectural.
Because, and we all crapping on Barbara because we thought all this stuff was her decisions. But now we know, gosh, I'm sorry, Barbara. It seems like you wanted to do some more original attractions, and you just got shut down from the top.
Shut down from the top because, again, it was Bob Iger's directive that he do this. And, well, Josh being the good sport that he is, and obviously executives before him, well, they were facilitating Bob Iger's directive there. So in that case, do you blame Josh Giamaro for that? Well, certainly not. But it does highlight this kind of the chaotic nature, this chaotic culture, this chaotic perception from this Imagineering firm.
I have a question. If, let's say Josh gets the CEO position, do you think he changes his stance with his own? Do you think he comes in with his own thoughts and thinks, hey, maybe we should do some original attractions? I just listen to Bob, but I really don't mind for some half and half, some IP, some original. Do you think there's a mindset change there now that Bob actually gets out and not just consults, but leaves and lets Josh do the actual CEO position? If he gets
It's really hard to say whether or not that will manifest. Certainly, I would hope that Josh Giamaro really take a step back and look at the company as a whole and change that thinking. Because, I mean, you got to think about it, right? A well-executed attraction has the potential to become an IP of its own.
Exactly.
Think about the
Pirates.
Right, like Pirates of the Caribbean. That's the prominent example. But there have been other concepts, more successful than others. Yeah, like Haunted Mansion, for instance. There have been concepts for a Small World show, or even actually a show involving Big Thunder Mountain. That was at ABC.
And even a movie. I know recently, a couple years ago, they had a movie and a Tower of Terror. I think Scarlett Johansson. So
right. That's. That being produced by Scarlett Johansson, if I'm not mistaken, right there. The Tower of Terror, that is. So really, really great rides can actually influence on the other end and become their own kind of original IP that you associate with Disney in a way that I think a lot of short-sighted executives might not actually see and might not actually appreciate. But I think that's what keeps Disney different is being able to incorporate both IP laden theme park product, and also to original works that live up to that Imagineering reputation and really let them showcase their creative talent. Unfortunately, we just haven't seen that in the modern era. And it's because of the guy in the right of that picture right there, and it's really really
And he's been in
sad.
charge for so long that it's accompanied most of our lives, or at least most of my
Yeah,
life, you know.
and
And I'm
and to
very
answer,
curious because Josh, since he is the head of the Parks division, and Chapek, I know, didn't really get a fair shot because Bob was always there. Iger is always there doing some stuff and influencing things. But like I said, I hopefully with Josh gets the CEO position and Iger's out, then hopefully, because you gotta think, he talks to Imagineers, I'm sure, a lot because he was in charge of the parks, or is in charge of the parks division. So he's probably in close contact with them. I'm sure they give them their wishes of what they would like to do at some point. So hopefully he takes that into account and say, hey, all right, I'm CEO now. Maybe, or maybe we can say, hey, if you support me for CEO, I'll promise you some original attractions, something like that.
I would hope so, especially if a guy coming from that side of the business. Maybe you have Josh D'Amaro, who is in a position that can appreciate these original attractions in a way that maybe his predecessor didn't. I just don't know. A lot of the decisions being made at the corporate level of Disney have indicated that they want just a kind of continuation of the status quo, and not a guy or gal that will upset that too much. I don't think they want another Bob
It's
Chapek.
crazy because if you make another Expedition Everest, say you'd sell a ton of lightning lanes just because it's a roller
Right. Of
coaster. Yeah.
course. Absolutely. I mean, look, anything breathed from Imagineering is going to have its own value. I mean, look at Mystic Manor, right? Look at a lot of the concepts that have been brought out with Hong Kong actually very recently, with like Grizzly Gulch and all that kind of stuff. I mean, these are original rides, original concepts that have their fan bases, they have their fans, and they're able to sell product based on the success of those attractions. Again, that's something only WDI can really do. It's something that Universal has really never done.
Yeah, because they're all about movies and stuff, right? So yeah, that's
right, right.
a nice difference. Let them be the
You
rides and movies, and let you be the original attractions, and you incorporate some IPs from your movies, but like a more balanced approach. Or else you just turn into Universal.
I love this quote right here from this article talking about this. This is the way that Ben Fritz ends it. Actually, this last one right here. Some Imagineers say that they are most excited about Villains Land, an expansion at Orlando's Magic Kingdom currently under construction. Though it will feature characters from Snow White, Peter Pan, and Aladdin, it's not based on a specific film, and that makes it the closest thing to an original land in Disney's U.S. parks in 25 years. It's like, really, guys? Villains Land? I don't really see that as a original attraction. Honestly, I think that's just misplaced. Mystic Point, okay, Grizzly Gulch, those are things that have occupied this 25-year span. Yes, and are far more original than those. So that's just a weird. I thought that was a really weird inclusion right here. I don't know why he included that, but he did include some other gems. So back to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge for just a moment. Apparently, through this article, we can see this right here. A Millennium Falcon ride in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge was designed with 5 different missions in mind, but opened with only 1 due to budget and time constraints. Wizard, that's a big revelation right there that a lot of people didn't know. We certainly saw concepts and different pre-renderings of what that could look like, right? Of what Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run was supposed to feature. But a lot of those weren't featured in the mission that we got, which was to Corellia. Wizard, what do you think about that line in particular?
I say you should have opened a Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run and Rise of the Resistance at the same time if they needed more time. If it opened with 5 missions, that would have done the ride much more beneficial service to do open with 5 or even 3, or more than one mission. If you had to wait a few more months, I would have just waited a few more months, and Rise waited a few more months, just open it all at the same time. I'm sure people would definitely understand. I'm sure if he said it, yeah, we had to wait because what you want, one mission or 5 missions? Because especially if you're gonna realize one mission for 7 years, yeah, definitely think. I know they have budget and time constraints. Well, they gotta they should have just bit the bullet, waited a few more months like they did with Rise of the Resistance, and figured it out and opened up at least 3 of the 5, or hopefully 5 of the 5. Because even now we're gonna get just what, like 2, another mission. Well, I guess you can go to multiple locations, second mission, but it's like 2-ish missions.
Yeah. I mean,
So
we're going to have multiple missions here. I mean, maybe, possibly. This is interesting, Wizard. I don't know if they're including this next mission that we're going to have with these multiple destinations and so forth that people can choose or something like that for the release of Mandalorian Grogu here in, I think, May of 2026. When this thing is included, I think the Corellia mission will actually be scrapped. I think this will be the replacement mission, which will have...
So just be one again, or one with multiple missions, one with multiple locations.
It will be, yes, one with multiple locations, I think is the wording that they're using here, which, is not quite the same as 5 missions. This is why, by the way, like, for example, Hondo, right? He says, today we're going to Corellia, that kind of thing. The reason why he's saying that is because it was intended to be multiple missions on day one, but they weren't given approvals. And like you said, Wizard, it would have been very beneficial for this attraction. And I would say the reputation of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge as a whole, its reception, if this particular attraction was different, if this particular attraction really showcased the modular capabilities of this specific ride system. Because this ride system, I mean, you can see all the switches that are in there. You can see that, these switches that have lights next to them don't function at all with Corellia. But go ahead.
See that? That's how short of a wait time it is. 30 minutes. Right. Now why? Because it's one mission for 70 years.
Right. I mean, it's just nobody's going to actually ride it because it's like once you've been to Corellia, you've been on the attraction. And it's, it's just not the best showing. Obviously, it features a lot of connection to Solo, which was not a very well received film, or at least not a box office draw in the way that they had hoped. So it's kind of like this weird thing where it's this almost offshoot of the Star Wars universe being included right in this heart of Star Wars land. That should really be a showcase of the Star Wars universe that people have recognized for almost 50 years now. But
which ironically makes Star Wars Galaxy's Edge closer to an original land than they might think.
Yes, exactly. It's more original, I would say, than Villain's Land. Ben, what are you doing with us here? No, sorry, got to give a little bit of pushback here. But Wizard, this is very interesting too. There were a number of cuts made to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. I think we've documented at least a couple of them before on various presentations that we may have given on this channel and others and so forth. But here's the interesting thing. I had heard, Wizard, from a source. You know this source. You've interacted with this source. Who has a long career at Disney. And he was telling me, look, the Imagineers wanted a restaurant, a sit-down, bona fide restaurant for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Okay? And you could see the concept art. They released it, Wizard, which was amazing. You could see there were concepts for a restaurant to be featured in Galaxy's Edge. In fact, Oga's Cantina is the size that it is and is positioned the way it is because that was supposed to be the lounge for the restaurant. Oga's Cantina doesn't have a kitchen. The reason why is because it was always supposed to benefit from the kitchen featured in the restaurant. That was cut. The Imagineers got to a certain point in which they were really burning through cash for this project, And they went to Bob Chapek, who was in charge at this time. And they said, hey, look, we really want to do this restaurant. Can we get additional funding for it? Bob Chapek said to him, look, you can do the restaurant. You can do the restaurant all day long, but you're not getting one more dime. So the decision was made, rather than cut other elements from other attractions or other parts of the land, they cut the restaurant. And that's what happened. Similarly, we lost it.
They cut the third attraction and the entertainment, and they still can do the restaurant.
Right. They cut a lot of entertainment, a lot of the stunt shows they were supposed to have, a lot of the the areas in which you see these walkways up above you. A lot of those areas were supposed to be areas that had these shows occupy them, right? And the idea was that this was going to be a living, breathing thing, and that Ray was going to be running through and getting away from stormtroopers, or maybe Vi Marathi, right? You remember her? she was supposed to be running through, and she was supposed to be battling it out with stormtroopers. You were supposed to have these amazing things happen.
It's hilarious.
I mean,
but I still don't know what she's about.
Right. Exactly. You know what I'm talking about, Wizard. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, you're supposed to have all these things, right? And it was supposed to showcase the fact that this was a living, breathing thing, and all of that. This is one of the reasons why we don't have music in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, for example, because the music was supposed to be provided by these entertainment acts and performances and so forth. Bob Chapek, along with others, cut those. Why'd they cut those? Because the ongoing costs associated with those, well, it was too much for the company to incur at that time, at least according to those executives who made those cuts. The third attraction, the Bantha attraction, was also cut. Why? Because unfortunately, they had $1 billion budget and they were going to stick to it very, very closely, and so we couldn't get those things that I think would have really upped the enjoyment factor for Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. It's amazing, Wizard. You walk around certain areas of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at various times. Sometimes you'll get busy areas, sometimes you won't. You'll see like people crowding around the marketplace at certain times, maybe when a character comes out. Rise of Resistance, that area is always packed because, well, it's...
When Vi Marathi comes out?
Yeah. people stop what they're doing, and they swarm to the back of the park in order to see Vi. No, that doesn't happen at all. But you do have some pockets of different areas that are occupied and have a buzz to them, right, at various parts of the day. But it's very sporadic. It's rarer than you would think. And I think that the time when certain portions of Galaxy's Edge are the most occupied is actually for the production show that happens on a nightly basis, the Skywalker Saga show, and you got the Fire of the Rising Moons.
Yeah, Fire of the Rising Moons and the Skywalkers.
Right. Now, contrast that, Wizard, with Cars Land. Cars Land is always packed. It's always full of people. It's always people trying to get on Raider Springs Racers, where you have the cars going. There's a buzz. There's an energy. You can feel it. But that land has been, open and operational since 2012? I mean, that's the difference.
14 years. 14 of them.
Right. And Star Wars Galaxy's Edge has been open for half the time. And unfortunately, maybe some of those things that they cut would have extended the life and the interests among the wider guest and paying audience for this land. This is why...
I think they'd bring back the restaurant, because as we discussed, it was, it's a direct revenue stream.
Yes!
I love it.
You would think. Look, Wizard. Disneyland, right, in Anaheim, opening in 1955, obviously. It's now, we are now at the back end of its 70th anniversary. It is one of the most attended theme parks in the world. We have well over, 17 million guests who have visited Disneyland annually.
There's an article today that Disneyland had its 900 millionth guest overall, which is
900th millionth guest.
Incredible.
Almost 1 billion people, Wizard, have visited this, what is the world's most famous regional theme park out there in Anaheim, California. People go, people visit, and people spend. Now, Wizard, how many, off the top of your head, how many sit-down restaurants are there in one of the most attended theme parks in the world?
let's see. River Bell, that's one. You got Blue Bayous, two. And then I think there's a third one. What was the third one? It was
Cafe Orleans.
Cafe Orleans. Yes, three. Is that it? There's one more. Oh,
There's one more.
33? No, that's
No. Okay. There are 4 public.
Or I guess Plaza Inn. Is that
no, Plaza Inn's not a sit-down restaurant. It is a counter service restaurant. Now you do sit down for breakfast during character breakfast. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about sit-down table service. Waiter comes up to your table, brings you food. There are 4, Wizard. The 4th one is Carnation.
Oh yes, Carnation Cafe.
Right. But there are only 4 in one of the most highly attended theme parks on planet Earth. You would think that the company would say, hey, let's get a 5th one in here and make it super themed and make it something that people want to actually see, people want to actually experience, and then leave. We saw it work actually quite well with Be Our Guest restaurant over there at Walt Disney World. Why don't we have a similar concept here? Couldn't tell you. And again, that would benefit Disney's Hollywood Studios as well if you wanted to budget it for both parks. Exactly. For some reason,
since they sell alcohol, especially in Oga's Cantina, they would certainly sell alcohol in this restaurant, which would be even more money for them. So, and they'd have that and entertainment there, so it's like dinner and a show aspect of the little alien animatronic or alien person in the thing. It looks very nice. I still would, and this crazy part, there's nothing back there. They're certainly not using it for extended queue for Smuggler's Run. So come on, they can still do whatever they want if they really wanted to.
Yes, and let me go ahead and just show everybody how feasible this is, because people might they might doubt the fact that it is as feasible getting a 4th restaurant that is, 5th restaurant in Disneyland, but also a sit-down restaurant in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. If you look at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge from a map, which I'm going to go ahead and bring this up here. I'm going to go ahead and hide this, and then we're going to go ahead and get down to this area right here. You can see here, this right here is the entrance to Oga's Cantina. Mm-hmm. Just beyond it is this it's like a square with one of its corners cut off. You see this right here? Mm-hmm. See how it's perfectly square? How it's perfectly... Yeah, mm-hmm. That was the restaurant. You can occupy that space.
Right there.
It's right there. They literally took it out. They can put it right back in, Lizard. We can go forward with this restaurant. We have all the concepts. We have all the renderings. We have everything. Just hit go.
And the craziest part is, it wouldn't even take that long to build. It's not the biggest thing. It's not a new ride. They can have it done in a year or less.
Correct.
That's crazy.
We can get this.
Added quick capacity to the park. Right. That adds overall capacity, and it's revenue driven. It fits all their goals that we just talked about. And yet fits
all the goals, fits all the parameters as a direct revenue stream. Look, we're moving heaven and earth to get Portos in there. We are currently...
And Disney World's opening all those bars. I mean, I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, it would bring new life to Oga's Cantina if anybody is dissatisfied with that. Well, now we're going to have a brand new menu as afforded by the kitchen included with this new restaurant right next door, Oga's Restaurantorium or something.
And then, boy, the revenue they get from that restaurant they can use to add some entertainment to the land. How about that?
I love this, Wizard. I love this. You see, we should be working on top of WDI. Unfortunately, no, we are not.
It's just like some storage boxes and some random crap.
Yeah, so this area has actually been used as the extended queue for Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. That's why those storage boxes are there and tarps and stuff. It's to provide for a queue. Again, that was never its purpose. Its intended purpose was the spot where they were going to put the restaurant, and they just plucked it out like a Lego piece. They just took it right out of the plans. They can slot it back in if they have the courage to do so, which I'm not sure they do. There's also room here.
I can't even imagine to be that expensive either.
Right. I don't think it would be, because a lot of that stuff was already done. In terms of the design work and development and so forth, it's already been done.
I mentioned it's so popular they can even like a phase 2, they can extend the restaurant out with more seats over in that other building over there.
Yeah, you would think so, but we're not going to go ahead and do that now. This area between Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and Toontown, as you can see, that is actually the spot for the third attraction. Again, something that might be coming, might not be coming, who knows. But again, this is all under.
What they should do, you see that little pathway there? I know there's a service road, but there's that little pathway, right? And it's like shaded. But they should take that opportunity and build just a little tunnel, get you from Galaxy's Edge to Toontown, make it walking a lot much easier.
Yeah, I actually did forward that idea because you can see that service road right there. It actually lines up perfectly.
Yeah, with that little small turret area. Look at that. It's like they almost wanted to do it.
Now, the ironic thing about this, Wizard, is that spot right there is the exact spot. I believe it's the shop, but right next door is where people who were staying at the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel at Walt Disney World's version of this same Star Wars Galaxy's Edge themed land would actually enter and exit Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and get to their transport to get to them to their hotel and back and forth, vice versa. That right there is where that's actually done. And
that's actually even a more brilliant idea. If they didn't want to build a tunnel on something really quick, they should punch a little hole in the back of Toontown there, have a galactic transport. So there's that little road right there with a U-turn. They have a galactic tram system to take you from Galaxy's Edge to Toontown, so you won't have to walk. And they can do that in like a couple of months.
And that's the weird thing too. When Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway opened and New Toontown opened, back in 2023, I was very much of the idea that it's like, okay, you're gonna have everybody back there. This one area to go back and forth into Toontown. It's too much ingress and egress traffic. You really should have a walkway here, because the problem, Wizard, that happens is the only way to get from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which is, their second most recent land, to their most recent, I guess, reimagined land technically, but new land in Toontown, is this walkway right here.
Exactly. And not only is that always congested, but look how much farther, if you zoom out, see how much farther that is if you just go all the way around than just to go around the back. We have to go all the way through the trail, Frontierland Trail, then go all the way through Fancy, and then go all the way up when you can just go right through the back there. That's crazy to me.
And you can bypass the parade route, for example, which Wizard. Oh boy, if you want to get to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge to Toontown during that time, good luck to you. This walkway, especially during busy times and during busy seasons, can be hell. Okay, for lack of a better term. We could bypass all of that by bringing that connective tissue between Toontown and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
It's not even that big of a pathway or tram, whatever you want to do. It's like a tiny area. It's like
right, and we just don't. I mean, look, the little ball pit that is still not anything, even with this reimagined Toontown. It's right there. It's right there. You just have to blow out there, and you're in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Again, if they had the courage to pursue it. This article is interesting because it really does highlight some of the things that Josh D'Amaro has kind of dropped the ball on. I think right now, Wizard, this brings us down south to this area of Disneyland Resort, that being Disney California Adventure. What specifically Avengers Campus. There was another revelation brought out with this article that I really want to get to, and that is the big Marvel E-Ticket attraction. People will remember that back in 2019, back during that summer's D23 Expo, Chapek got up on stage and said, "Hey, we've got a big new attraction coming to Disney California Adventure for Avengers Campus. It's going to be this awesome state of the art, never been done before attraction, and that was known as Marvel's Eat to Go attraction amongst those fans. That attraction never came to fruition. The one that's being built currently on that same spot in Avengers Campus is, I think, version 3, if I'm not mistaken, of a big new ride for Avengers Campus.
Correct.
That being the King Thanos Infinity Defense attraction. Wizard, you want to take us through that just real fast?
Yeah, so this is the third version of the Avengers attraction here. First version was teased in 2017 when Guardians of the Galaxy opened. They had a big Avengers belt gear thing on the side of the attraction. I was like, "Ooh, see what's coming!" And that's when all the rumored Captain America Avengers coaster was come along. And then we had the new thing with the Wakanda jetpack attraction, which was the Kuka arm. That was pretty cool. Then, but then that good old pandemic happened, and then poor Chadwick Boseman passed away. So that kind of took that one. And then I guess they already bought the Kuka arm, so they said, let's make a Kuka arm anyway with the Tony Stark Flight Lab, and then do Transformers instead. And now here we have this.
Yes, that's how we get.
I hope it is good.
That's how we get to both as Infinity Defense and also my favorite that is coming. That would be the Stark Flight Lab attraction. And you can see Robert Downey Jr. He's just so enthusiastic for Stark Flight Lab. Look at that face. He just cannot get enough of this. But you can see the various concepts for this. Let me see if I can. I thought I had a post on Twitter that went through them all, but suffice to say, Wizard's exactly right. You have this third version now, which has split. So, okay, the amazing part about version 2 and the one that JPEG showcased was that this was going to be a transforming attraction. Okay, and the way I've had it heard described to me was you walk into what was essentially like a Star Tours flight simulator. And it was going to be very much like Star Tours with a gangway and stuff like that. And you walk into, instead of a Star Speeder 3000, a Quinjet. You walk in and you sit down in a seat configuration very similar to Star Tours, but you notice that the harness is a 4-point harness rather than a seatbelt. And you're thinking, that's a little weird. And during your adventure of actually touring through Wakanda, you notice that, well, oh my goodness, Wakanda's being attacked. It's being invaded. We have to help them. But instead of a kind of flight simulator in which the vehicle helps out, no, you're going to help out. And that's when it transforms into a Pandora or even a Kuka arm-based attraction, which are flying around with the Avengers trying to help them out in their mission on the Wakanda surface. Very, very cool stuff.
Which sounds amazing.
Sounds awesome. And I couldn't believe it. And I was like, oh my goodness gracious, this is super cool. Unfortunately, they said no. Now, we had never really heard the reasons as to why, not at least publicized anyway. But if we actually go back to the article itself, which is right here, they actually talk about that. So let me see if I can actually find it.
I just want to say, at least they didn't leave the old concept art of the attraction on the walls like they did with Tomorrowland.
It's very true, actually. Yes. Okay, yes, it says, okay. It was also a time of diminished ambition. And by the way, Wizard, how many times have you heard me talk about ambition when it comes to WTI? Because senior...
So much they got diminished to shape language.
Yes, shape language. If you know, folks, you know. By the way, hello there out there. Senior parks executives didn't trust WTI could deliver projects on time and on budget. Plans for several major Marvel attractions were killed, people familiar with the matter said. Now, why do they say several? Because Wizard, we, that being Disney California Adventure, weren't the only ones getting that attraction. Hong Kong was also getting a version of that as well.
Which is crazy. Yeah, Hong Kong, and then of course the earlier iterations of the California Adventure ones, and like, man, these aren't. You know what? And that's crazy too. Lots of construction projects and any theme park or any just a random construction project of a hotel or whatever in a random city. A lot of them are not on time and on budget. You have unforeseen issues and you have unforeseen weather delays or whatever. So they all usually open up a little late or cost a little more. But my goodness, they should see the old Disney, the Walt Disney. I mean, look, January 22nd, the handcrafted by Disney, Disneyland comes out on Disney Plus, and boy, that's gonna show you how Mr. Walt himself said cost overrun. I was okay. He almost broke. He did break his own bank just to get Disneyland built, and look what it's become. You know.
He cashed out his own life insurance policy, Wizard, to bring us the Mark Twain. And that's how committed Walt Disney was with giving everything he could to the guests. And that's what Walt Disney said before he died. He said, give them everything you can. Give them as much as you can give them. And unfortunately, we just simply haven't seen that from Disney. Go ahead, please.
I was gonna say, yeah, because even, look, if you do, yeah, exactly, if you do that, then you can get, I mean, the better the attraction, the more unique and more e-tickety. I mean, this thing is often open as Lightning Lane, but the more people are gonna be willing to buy the single pass Lightning Lane for the super cool ride, and you make your money back, even if it is a cost overrun, because it's so awesome. It'd be like Cars Land, just keep going and going on. You'll make it back in hopefully 5, but it'll definitely 10 years.
Well, Wizard, I would contend even further that if you make a new state-of-the-art attraction that is wholly unique and very ambitious, people not only buy a ticket to your park, they book vacations for that park. For example, Cars Land, Radiator Springs Racers. I mean, it's the only park in the world in which you can experience that attraction in that way. And so people come from, in some cases, all over the world to experience that attraction. This ride could have been a headliner for all of North America. It really could have put Disneyland and Disney California Adventure in a great position to say, hey, we have two big e-ticket headliners that you can only see here. Unfortunately, we're not going to get that.
Doesn't come, like you said, it doesn't come just Lightning Lanes, it comes just park harbor tickets, a hotel stay, maybe stay an extra day. Because oh boy,
Right.
like Spencer's attraction. That's a indirect revenue, not from the actual attraction, but from the resort. Someone says maybe they spend another $1,000 on food, hotel, and whatever just to go and stay an extra day to ride the new Avengers ride. And that's what these executives, these ones that think about 5 years, whatever, need to realize.
Exactly, I would agree. And so, who are the executives making the calls like this one? Hey, here's the thing: Tomorrowland was in progress up to a certain point. Obviously, COVID changed a lot, but I want to highlight the fact that in 2020 was the time when Josh D'Amaro came into the big seat. He could have very easily approved something like a Tomorrowland overhaul or a very ambitious e-ticket attraction for Marvel. He could have approved all of those things. He didn't. I understand people want to, give Chapek a rough time, and I will disagree that a lot of that's deserved, especially when talking about theme parks. The thing I want to highlight, though, is that Josh D'Amaro has been in the seat for 6 years now, and we haven't really seen a change of thinking. In fact, we've seen a continuation of the Chapek era thinking.
Only did he start building things or approving things when the CEO race started. That's when the $60 billion came to fruition. Only a year or two before the CEO stuff, time to show he's doing something. But before that, I mean, I remember we had talks with OG. We're like, well, okay, name something they do. We're trying to figure out what did he actually do, like noteworthy. Before that, couldn't think of a single thing.
Right. And it was like
I got Pixar Pier or something, or Guardians of the Galaxy, but this one, not a single thing.
Right. And because it's like what can you really attribute to him? You couldn't really, up until what is it, summer of 2024, during that specific D23 Expo, can you say, okay, now we have a range of projects that we can really put on Josh G. Morrow for having approved. I've had concerns with many of them, and I know fans have as well, because, well, a couple days later, he told you what you were going to lose for those attractions, like Rivers of America, for example, but we don't include that. Okay, now we can attribute things to Josh G. Morrow directly. But he needed that. He also needed Abu Dhabi to really put himself forward in the race right here. So I think it's a great point brought up by Wizard. Very, very good. But here's the thing. Look at this quote right here. It just wasn't fun anymore. That by Theron Skis, an Imagineer for 23 years who left in 2020 and now runs a themed entertainment consulting firm. Apparently this goes on to say that Bob Weiss, I believe, who was the previous head of Imagineering before Barbara Boza, Bob Weiss talks about how the pencil pushers really come in around that time that he's made put in charge of WDI, and they, I guess, go through line by line, and they're like, what's justification for this? What's justification for this expenditure? What's justification for this expenditure? Apparently that started with the JPEG era, but again, that from what I understand, that it's kind of continued. And look, Bruce Vaughan being brought in order to reimagine that culture is a good thing. But still, you still have a WDI that's been heavily scrutinized. And they even say that a spokesperson from Imagineering actually came out and said that every single project over the last 4 years have come in under budget. Clearly, I don't think you can say that about the adventure, right? But it's interesting that they would respond that way.
But and then to that quote, they come in under budget, but were they good? Maybe I think everyone agrees that going back to Tiana's Bio Adventure, then that one needed a little bit more of a budget. So maybe it's kind of a bad thing that they came in under budget.
Yes, exactly. That's a great point, Wizard.
And also, Toontown, that came in under budget, I guess, but look at how many times they had to fix it.
Yeah, that's a good point right there.
On budget or a little bit over budget, because maybe these under budget is not the greatest thing,
Well, and I would argue, right, that these are investments for projects and products that will be with us for not a season like a movie might. These will be with us for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years in some cases, right? Spending a little bit extra money up front does actually pay off in the long term, as we've seen with projects like Radiator Springs Racers, for example. There's a great quote actually from John Lasseter, who apparently faced an executive who wanted to cut the budget on Radiator Springs Racers, and he said, okay, we can cut it by 10 million, but I want you to be there at the exit to tell everybody that their experience could have been $10 million better if you had just approved that. So it's a very interesting way that John worked at that point. But remember, we lost him over there, I think in 20 was it 18, 17? Can't quite remember there. This quote right here. JPEG, who was Disney's CEO from 2020 to 2022, replaced Vaughn and Russell with another veteran Imagineer, Bob Weiss, and brought in new people to manage costs. Quote, senior financial executives were visiting WDI daily, sitting down to approve or disapprove budget items, even tiny ones, line by line. So, unfortunately, well, I mean,
what was the
go ahead, please.
They said projects over what they said the past 4 years came in under budget. Is that what that was?
Yes, that was the quote right there.
So, assuming that was from 2025, I assume maybe I don't know. Remember because 2020 just started. So from 2021 to 2021, what even opened in that year? I mean, let's see. I mean, but I know a lot of bars opened. The Epcot lights opened, and Community Core Hall. I mean, look at this stuff. These are not big projects, but two, even those small ones came in under budget, and they're still broken.
Right, so exactly. It's like, okay, well, is Cosmic Rewind, for example, Wizard, a better attraction for having it come under budget. I mean, assuming that ride did come under
Yeah.
budget, that would have benefited from audio animatronics in the queue. Maybe they wouldn't be dealing with the current situation that they have right now, where everybody rushes to get past that pre-show, right? And we've seen some operational changes to try to alleviate that problem. Maybe that wouldn't have occurred had you had that pre-show very engaging for a populace who rides it over and over again. Maybe it would have benefited from a big audio animatronic in the actual attraction itself, and that could have been headlined and used in promotional materials and so forth. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened. Now, okay, I want to go ahead and correct something, Wizard. A spokeswoman said that 93% of Imagineering's work in the past 4 years has come in under budget. So there's a little bit of leeway there for them.
I bet you Cosmic Rewind, because that's the only big coaster there. I bet you that one was in part of the 7% that was over budget or on time. Because you do those big things, it's very hard to come under budget on those big rides like that. Well, something like Journey of Water, if that came in under budget, maybe that could have benefited from a bigger budget. Because I mean, it looks cool, but maybe it should be bigger. Maybe it could be better.
Harmonious, right? Maybe Harmonious would have benefited from a little bit more budget given to it.
Get the barges, the ones that were going in and out, like they planned. That would help. Maybe it wouldn't be. Maybe it'd still be here.
Maybe, hey, Galactic Star Cruiser. We had to add that one in the mix.
Under budget, but it's gone. So it really
correct
over budget because it took the money to dismantle it and then move it away.
Yes,
and so over budget.
Right. And look, I will contend that if they were able to move those barges every single night like they originally intended, I swear, Wizard, Harmonious would have still been with us and maybe even seen it a different light. Because when you have barges out there on World Showcase Lagoon constantly, you're already in the negative when it comes to the reception of fans. You have to live up past that. Unfortunately, that was an attraction that never was able to do that. Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. If the Galactic Star Cruiser could have been built as a very high-end quality product, demanding a high price point, maybe then people can justify, okay, I'm staying in very luxurious accommodations for this price. Yes, it's expensive, but it's worth it. Unfortunately, that's not what we saw, especially when examining those rooms, which, by the way, my tweet is in Wikipedia with that whole feature right there, which is very interesting. Talking about those rooms, when people saw those, they weren't very impressed. So, okay, let me see. I believe there was one more thing here. I just want to run down here real fast with you. Sorry, folks. I think there was one more point I wanted to bring out with this article because I thought that was really, really interesting. Yeah, Shanghai Disneyland cost $2 billion more originally estimated. If you look at the original, if you look at the costs associated with that, I think the official cost is $6 billion. I had heard it was $8 billion, $9 billion because they had. Yeah, it wasn't just cost overruns. It was mid-construction. They had to redesign several things, and it was a mess. I mean, when they poured the original foundation for Tron, for example, unfortunately they were using local contractors, and well, you can guess what happened when those local contractors were used. Unfortunately, it wasn't up to WDI's standards, and they had to redo it. Those were some of the things that they had to encounter when it came to the construction of Shanghai Disneyland. Let me see here. I think there was something here. Anyway, the big thing I want to bring out here is that this does not come off to me, Wizard, as a ringing endorsement of WDI over the last decade. This is really airing out a lot of the dirty laundry that I would think Disney does not want out there, but it is something that fans have been talking about for a while, but in private circles. Now this is being brought.
You were right.
Right. And think about the crowd that would read this article from the Wall Street Journal. Okay, you got a lot of investors, you got a lot of shareholders, you got a lot of financial people reading this kind of publication. So why on earth would you include an article like this? Hey, maybe you could look at this as, hey, Josh DeMaro's turning things around here. Maybe you can do that for the Walt Disney Company. I don't see it that way. I see it as a very tumultuous segment at a very tumultuous time, with one guy being the through line of all of it, that being Josh Giamaro. I look at this as a hit piece, and I look at it as something maybe orchestrated by Dana's team, not sure, but it would make sense to put an article like this in 2026. What say you?
Oh, I agree, because this is the year that Mr. Bob is going to decide who should succeed him. Oh, and the board who should succeed him. And as you said, that those poll numbers for the Hollywood Reporter or whatever article that came from, for the first time, showed Josh leading after Dana multiple times. So maybe she feels a little bit of fire under her bottom to try to get ahead in the races again, and so commission this article, and it could potentially work out for her. She thinks she may be able to work out for it. We'll have to see, because then I'd expect, if true, then Josh's team might do an article on the studio division.
And this is what I told Wizard before. This is what I told Wizard. I said, hey, if they're airing dirty laundry for the experiences division, what stops somebody from Josh Giamaro's team saying, hey, let's look at that record over there at Hulu and FX and some of these other places? I mean, Wizard, I think Dana Walden has kind of dug herself into a little bit of a hole, especially regarding Jimmy Kimmel and that whole fiasco. She's all over that story, by the way. Nobody Entertainment likes what happened there. And yes, Jimmy's on the air, but Dana is heavily associated with him being sidelined for a period of time,
and thereby associated with a lot of Disney Plus cancellations.
Yeah, that's true. And you would think that from a shareholder's perspective, you would want Disney Plus, that situation solved, and you would want an executive team capable of doing that. I don't know if Dana Walden is quite that executive. Now, it's very interesting, Wizard. We just saw recently, I think from Puck actually, talking about how they believe that Dana Walden would actually stay, even if Josh Giamaro is selected in the CEO race. Did you see that?
I didn't. That'd be surprising, because usually they leave like that Kevin Meyer, the guy who made Candle Media.
Oh yes. With, by the way, Tom Staggs, who also left because he didn't get the CEO gig, even though he was originally selected. He couldn't actually nail down a deal. But Jay Rasulo was not selected. Tom Staggs was. Jay Rasulo left, knowing that he had no future with the company at that point. Let me see if I can bring this up right here. This is from Puck News, but as tweeted by the Boardwalk Times, which, by the way, they have been doing great reporting over there. Definitely check them out on their X account. It says this: Puck News predicts Dana Walden would likely stay at Disney if she is passed over for the new CEO job. Quote, Walden will likely get a lofty title, oversight of all content, and a big financial incentive to stay. The fact that few comparable jobs even exist in Hollywood these days, much less ones that are available to her, suggests she'll stay. This is a direct quote from that Puck article right there. Wizard, what do you think of Dana Walden staying? And again, this being delivered at a time that this Wall Street Journal article has really kicked up some sand here.
Yeah, I'm very curious. Will, because I know when Bob Iger came in, he got rid of a whole bunch of JPEG's people, like Kareem and others. So I wonder if she does, I guess, stay or gets a chance to stay. Do you think Josh fires her just later on down the line? Or if she did if her team commissioned this article, or do you think their pilot chief says, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Josh," if she commissioned the article in like private, and they get along, then she gets the title, and then he's just the CEO.
Yeah, this is very interesting how you bring up the relationship between the both of them as well. I'll answer your query in a moment right here, but there was another tweet that was delivered via Boardwalk Times through this this article right here. It says Disney Experiences Chairman Josh D'Amaro and Disney Entertainment co-chairman Dana Walden have a good working relationship. This is a quote from Boardwalk Times, as sourced by this article. Both D'Amaro and Walden are currently frontrunners to be named next CEO of Disney. The relationship is key here. I think Wizard, you get to a good question right here. Is it something where Josh D'Amaro is like, okay, like you've been running ops against me for a little while here, you gotta go. Here's the thing. Whether or not this article has its sources traced back to Walden and Walden's team, I think is irrelevant if in fact she stays, because having her stay there is something where she's just too dangerous. Like she will, if she stays there, she'll always be looked at as, oh well, we could have had her. It just places Josh D'Amaro in a constantly unenviable position, because you have this person who can just basically knife you in the back at any time, right? Like, this is why you don't have somebody who's been passed over for the job stay, because they're always gunning for the job. There's always a risk that they replace you.
They were looking at, I think I saw something there, exploring possible co-CEO, like with the Universal. Do you think they end up with the co-CEO position? Mike and Josh? Not Mike, Dana and Josh?
I actually think that's very likely. It shouldn't be.
That might be the, I don't know, be the best. I feel like because Josh is for the parks and Dana's for the studio. I guess if that was to happen, maybe nothing would change in those departments. But I feel like, I don't know. I guess I'm just not sure how much one knows about each other's department. You know, I know Dana, he said, went to Disneyland Paris one time. And I don't know what Josh is. And Josh, I think he's been to the award shows and stuff. But I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
like, I don't know. Can they do it all, or I think is it better for them to just be a co-CEO and one focus on movies and one focus on parks?
We have seen Josh D'Amaro try to attend big Hollywood events. Like, for example, Josh D'Amaro attended the upfronts for Netflix recently, which was very unusual for Netflix. For a big event like that associated with Hollywood, to have Josh D'Amaro there. He's certainly attempted to ingratiate himself with the Hollywood intelligentsia, or the Hollywood culture, as much as he can, in order for those allegations of, well, he's never been a Hollywood or studio guy, that should disqualify him, those ideas from going away. The difficulty right now is that Disney's biggest problem is this monkey on their back, which is streaming.
There we go.
At this very transformative time in Hollywood. If Netflix secures Warner Brothers, which it very well looked like that may happen, we'll have to see from the administration, currently in DC right now, that there are obstacles for which we might not be able to foresee, but it is very increasingly looking likely that Netflix is going to be able to secure this deal. If that is secured, Wizard, the Hollywood landscape changes overnight. Remember, Warner Brothers was number one at the box office up until Zootopia 2 actually came out. They had that for 8 months of the year. I can't even remember, but they were in the lead. Okay, so they are the, outside of a couple of films that happened in Q4, they were the premier theatrical outlet, right? Theatrical studio in Hollywood. Now, under the ownership of Netflix, who knows what the ramifications of a big move will be from that, right? So, from an executive standpoint, the person in the CEO seat at Disney, they have to be able to chart out the next 10 years. I don't even know if they can do 5, but really 10 years. And have a game plan and recognize where we are going to be in this landscape in 10 years. What will happen in the industry, where our place in the industry is and how we get there. They have to plot that whole course, Wizard. And do you believe that Josh Duhamel can do that, especially from the position of never having been really associated with Hollywood almost at all before this? I don't know if he can make that leap.
I don't think so. That's kind of difficult.
Right. So it's like, okay, would he benefit from somebody who actually knows that space? I would say yes. But I don't even know if Dana is necessarily qualified to do that. Now, I was talking to OG very recently, and he was suggesting, that being OG, Orange Grove 55, for those not familiar, definitely check him out on his YouTube channel. And he's back on X, by the way. So I was talking to OG, and he was saying, well, maybe Alan Bergman. And that I think could be something where you could have Alan Bergman as co-CEO, or maybe a president role, right? Something that Disney hasn't had in quite a while, assisting Josh Duhamel as he navigates through the Hollywood industry. That is somebody you could potentially have on there. But you really need a team, an executive team, and especially if you're going to have a single person, somebody who's able to navigate this and navigate these very transformative waters, right, with the Hollywood industry. I just don't know if Josh Duhamel's the guy.
Oh yeah, I agree. So because I don't like his. I just can't see him running the studio only because he hasn't like talked about it. I don't know. It's gonna be hard. I feel like for
And I
don't see Dana run a theme park because I don't feel like she's just never done it before.
Right. That's a good point too. And let's go back to that article for just a second, because I thought that they brought up something very, very interesting, which talked about the operating income from the entire company compared to the parks, right? So this chart represents how much the parks contribute to the overall profit of the Walt Disney Company on a certain quarter, certain year. You can see right there, it topped out, Wizard, at 70%. 70% of the total profit for the entire company was within one division, that being the experiences division, the park segment, that being Josh Duhamel. That's why they're bringing this up right here. Dana Walden, do you necessarily entrust this very profitable segment with her, who's never done it before either, and who might not even care about it? Now, look, it worked in years past with somebody like Bob Iger or Michael Eisner. They certainly didn't have any history with parks or much history with parks before their tenure. So in that case, it worked out. We don't know necessarily if it's going to work out a third time. And here's the thing about Dana Walden, and here's the thing I just don't trust. She was certainly part of the effort to subvert Chapek and remove him. And while that was all going on, she's having these daily walks with Bob Iger in Brentwood because they live right next to each other. The shadow cast by Iger is very long. And to have somebody associated so closely with Bob Iger waiting in the wings, I just don't trust that. Look, Wizard, there's a reason.
Don't forget, if Dana stays and Josh is just CEO, that since they are neighbors, who knows? They're probably going on walks every morning, so they'll just be like, oh yeah, so Josh today is doing this at Disney. Josh today, even when Iger's retired, like, oh, Josh today is still doing this. And who knows, Iger may call up somebody and be like, hey, blah, 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 blah. Josh is bad. Get Dana. Who knows? I don't know. I feel like he'll still be like the puppet master, even retired, because he has all these connections, like you said, with Dana and the company. And then who knows who else will stay after Iger's retired. I feel like he'll still be retired, but be able to puppet with from other people and at least find out what's going on,
Right. And that's the scary thing, right? Because we saw what that did with Chapek. I really do believe that Chapek's reign as CEO was completely undermined.
He didn't really get a chance to actually be the CEO.
He was only there for he was only there by himself, because remember Iger said, I'm going to be here for 18 months or something, leading creative. He was still there. He never gave up the office, Wizard. He never gave up that corner office with the shower, right? That was the whole thing. That's where Two Shower Bob comes from right there. He never really gave Pop Chapek the reins. But the point at which he releases those reins the most is really in his last year, and by then it was too late. I mean, all the wagon wheels were coming off because he had undermined Chapek the entire time, at least in my opinion. Okay, so think about this, Wizard. Think about the second executive that Bob Iger removes when coming back. Remember, the first was Kareem Daniel. That was almost instantaneous. And he was in charge of DMed, for those people who don't know. He was basically one of the most powerful figures in Hollywood because he would basically be the filter for all the content going through the Walt Disney Company. Whether it be sports, Pixar, Marvel, it was all going through him. What was the interesting feature about Kareem Daniels is that he was in charge of really the first effort to depoliticize the company, but maybe at the wrong time. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Do you remember who the second executive that Bob Iger gets rid of? Okay. The second executive is Christine McCarthy. Now,
oh yes, waistlines.
Waistlines. Now they said, oh well, she's got health issues. Her husband has health issues, and so she's stepping down in order to assist, in order to be with family, right? Look, guys, we have had enough time pass. I can tell you that whole story was cover. It was garbage. She is gotten rid of because Iger knows. Because remember, Wizard, right before that all happened, Christine McCarthy was the gal being lauded in Hollywood as the woman who led the coup effort against Chapek. We had all these articles.
Mm-hmm. So you gotta get rid of her because if she can do it to him, she'll do it to you.
Exactly, Wizard. And that's why Josh D'Amaro has got to get rid of Dana Walden, if in fact he is the guy. Because Dana Walden, she was very much a part of that effort against Chapek, and if she could do it then, she could do it now.
Exactly.
It's not going to work out with Dana Walden. It's just not. She cannot be trusted in this environment. Josh D'Amaro's really got to separate from her. Look, there are other people who can do her job. You just walk away.
Yeah, you can bring back Tom Staggs or something.
Right. And you brought up something very interesting, Wizard. Apparently, from your vantage point, you're thinking that Kavanaugh, I believe it was, I think his name is Mike Kavanaugh, right?
And Mike Kavanaugh and Ryan Roberts will be, I think starting this year, will be co-CEOs.
Now, just to be clear, we are not talking about the Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh, okay? We're not talking about that one. We're talking about the Comcast, NBC Universal executive, who was actually just made co-CEO, like you said, with Brian Roberts over there, something that had been a previously very familial institution. Now you're bringing in somebody like him. I think you're saying, Wizard, that they might have considered him, and that's why he was made a co-CEO?
I think so. Yeah, I think Brian Roberts is getting ready to eventually retire, just like Mr. Bobby. Brian Roberts and Bob Iger have a very personal history, so it's fun. It does make sense that as one retires, the other one's like, okay, I can go too. And now Mike Kavanaugh, who is also from the theme park division, is funny enough, is now looking to be the CEO or co-CEO, but eventually full CEO of Comcast, which is pretty interesting. Same trajectory Josh is taking, which is pretty funny how they're marrying each other.
Very interesting. Oh man, I think this is delicious. I think this is really something going on here in Hollywood. That just you just have a lot of things transpiring in very interesting ways. And I think this article, this amazing Wall Street Journal piece, which by the way, go over to the Wall Street Journal, check it out. Ben Fritz does an amazing job with this piece. I think this is really interesting because I think this is a reflection. I think this is a sign of this very transformative time in Hollywood, and this is a reflection of this changing culture
And
and the moves being
as
made here.
Vash said before, 70% of Disney's revenues like theme parks, right? Well, Comcast,
Right.
as Vash and that park place and everyone um, sees on the earnings reports, every quarter the theme park gets more and more as more of a revenue driver for them too. So I wonder the point where they will overtake the studio division for NBC Universal as also the most profitable. And I think it's coming soon because they keep aggressively expanding there, and see lots of changes on the backlot of the studio tour, trying to prep for more theme park space. So I think there will be a point that NBC Universal, where while the studio is more profitable at Universal Studios Hollywood right now, I feel like there'll be a point where the theme park will become more profitable, and you'll see the reflections of that in the future.
I think so. I think there is every chance that the theme park product from NBC Universal become more profitable than maybe the theatrical division. I don't know about their telecommunications division. I think that's just it's
Yeah,
it brings
that's
in more
like
money.
that's pretty safe. 'Cause that's like worldwide. That's like Comcast. That's
Yeah,
a massive worldwide, nationwide. I think, but in terms of,
it's
because I know like obviously Disney doesn't have any of that, but they have
yeah.
their theme parks are bringing more than the movies, and I do think
Hmm.
something especially with the Epic Universe when you got has a full year in and stuff like
Hmm.
that, and obviously Comcast, Universal has profitable movies too, but just in general, as you see,
Hmm.
Disney has profitable movies, but still
Right.
70%, that's pretty big. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think a similar shift is coming to Comcast and theme parks. I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think theme parks are more of a, I'd say, a safe investment versus like a movie. A movie can flop, and you never know how well it's gonna do, especially with the
Well,
streaming situation. But theme parks,
right.
we're always going to theme parks, and they have, like you said, they can make your money back in 5 or 10 years, not right away. Or as a movie, especially with a big budget, it will take a long time, even on the digital market, to make the money back because not it doesn't really happen too often. It's more of a front-loaded type of business thing.
Right. I think you make a great point here, Wizard. Um, the theatrical market, I think, is not safe. It is certainly seen tremendous hurdles in the past 5 years, and I think it will continue to do so. And so, with this very evolving and changing landscape, I think you're right. I think physical experiences will become more important, certainly more prominent, especially amongst people that born in the digital age. They might want the physicality. They might value the physicality perhaps more than maybe content that is streamed on your phone or you can watch in film. So it might actually leapfrog and become more prominent in people's spending habits and so forth. So I think just for those reasons alone, you could have the entertainment product that NBC Universal actually produces be upended by like the theme parks. It certainly has every potential to do so, and I think that's very clear. So maybe there is some wisdom in going with Josh D'Amaro, right? It's like, look, he's the guy making us money when nobody else really is at Disney. Let's go ahead and put him in charge. It certainly makes sense on paper, but at the end of the day, Disney has really thrived on two things. One, getting people who understand entertainment, understand the market, understand the embracing technology like television, for example. Walt did extremely well. Disneyland itself would not be where it is today without television, right? The Disneyland television show really put it on the map. Wonderful World of Color, we know all that. It also benefits from kind of a dual, person A, person B type setup, right? Walt had Roy, Michael had Frank. And so these things, I think, should be considered when going into the CEO decision. It is the most important decision Disney can make. No question, hands down. Look at how much change we saw with just Chapek occupying that seat for 3 years. This is... It affects everything, and it's certainly going to affect the parks that you visit and love today.
Oh yes, and we'll be seeing this year who gets chosen will be quite interesting. But oh man, and I'm excited for more dirty laundry articles to come out throughout the next few months on both sides. It'll be very interesting. But so, Vash, where can we find you? Can we find you anywhere nowadays?
Well, yeah. So I'm going to be making appearances on a lot of shows, a lot of programs. I will have more information about that later on. But as you may have heard from WW Pro and other places, I am starting my own channel. I'm not revealing a name just yet. But I am
Breaking
starting.
news! This is the first
I
time
know.
I'm hearing of this. Wow.
I am starting my own YouTube channel. It is
Hold
going to
on.
be sensational.
We need a let's see, here we go. Let's see what we got here. We need a wee. That's
There you go. Maybe you need a little bit of Universal in the background right there, right?
Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom.
Vash is starting his own YouTube channel.
Oh, this thing's gonna have 100,000 subscribers on day 5. This is gonna be
Oh well, I don't know about that, but we have known people to have a tremendous growth. I don't know if necessarily that's in our future, but I rest assured, everybody who has stayed with me, who has followed my journey, who has been a fan or discovered me, whether that be that Park Place, Orange Grove 55, or elsewhere, just understand, folks, that whatever the new venture here is going to be really, really awesome. And it's going to allow me to connect with you in a way that I just simply have never been able to before. I think it's going to be really awesome. It's going to be theme park related. It's going to be great. You're going to be seeing it. I think we're going to debut the name actually on Wednesday during that Park Place. So you want to go ahead, tune in to that live stream.
That's incredible.
I do believe so. I do believe we can secure everything and set up everything that we must before that time. I'm really trying to get that deadline
right now for his theme park updates coming soon, guys. Subscribe to his channel. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have it up yet, but we'll be making the debut and everything like that on Wednesday. I think it's going to be really, really cool. But this is going to be awesome. It's going to be fantastic. I'm really passionate about it. It's something I've never really entered into before. I was actually hesitant to do that, but having had tremendous support from that Park Place and Pro for so long, and being able to really get into the nuts and bolts of how a channel works, how it operates, how it functions, and being part of that process for so long, I think I'm finally ready to make that leap myself. I think it's really cool. So definitely check out Wednesday's stream over on that Park Place. That's going to be, where are they streaming now? I think it's, when are they streaming now, actually? Is it noon now? Is it noon? Noon Eastern?
Oh, yeah, I think it's noon Eastern.
Yeah, I think it's noon Eastern. It's 10 a.m. my time, 9 a.m. PT, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's noon. I think it's noon Eastern, if I'm not mistaken. But there have been a lot of changes, obviously, over there at that Park Place. I'll still contribute over there, but the home that you will find me at, the place where you can be assured you'll be able to find my commentary, my the stories that I feature, and everything else connected with me. It's going to be over there on my channel, so definitely check it out when it debuts.
Yes, please, because I'm going to make an appearance on Video 1. We're going to do a grand opening live stream, so stay tuned for that. And Bash doesn't know yet, but he just found out that we're going to do a grand opening live stream, and I'll be right on the channel. That's right, I'm taking control of his channel, and he doesn't even have it open yet.
Wait a second. Hang on. Can you actually live stream on day 1 on YouTube? I don't know if you can yet. I think you have to get a certain number of watch hours.
We can't, but we'll get, if you have 50 subscribers, you can.
Okay. Well, there you go. Well, that's a threshold we can beat right there. Good. Even if we don't wizard, well, we'll do it. We'll do it here. How about that?
Yes, because we're gonna do a grand opening live stream. We're gonna have a fundraiser. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. Yeah, that's right. We're gonna make you rich, Doctor. We're gonna propel you to new heights. I want you to be even greater than Theme Park Wizards channel. I've been waiting for Bash Guy to do this since 2018. Okay, so this is incredible. I'm gonna wear a party hat. I'm ready to go. This year, by
Wow.
this time next year, Vash will be at 50,000 subscribers because this is one of the smartest theme park people I know.
Well, I try. I pale in comparison to the great theme park wizard. I try to live up to the reputation, though, that especially the lofty standards from which Wizard has set here at Theme Park Wizard. So I do appreciate the compliments, good sir, but I think it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be great. I absolutely cannot wait, and I can't wait for you to join me on this journey. I will say, Wizard, there are some updates here that I'm learning for the first time, so it's very interesting. But I promise it'll be
This
awesome.
is great, and that's why we're giving you center stage. Tell us all about your channel.
Yes, well, is there much to say about it? I wanted to create something that was me. I wanted to create something that was uniquely tuned to a theme park oriented audience, to an audience that has not only supported me, but I think one that we can cultivate and one that we can really create a community around, and something that really had my stamp on it. So, you know, I know people, they've said before, like, hey, we like those videos where it's just Vash, or hey, we have had other people, right, featured on some of this stuff, and it's like, as much as we love that commentary, hey, we want to go ahead and hear Bash more, or hear more of his opinion or whatever. I'm now providing an outlet, a place for which you can do that. So that's the goal there.
I love these different settings. Look at this. Wow. Where'd you
This
go?
is
There you
the
go.
amazing production value here with Theme Park Wizard.
Wow, this is incredible. But go subscribe to Vash Guy Wizard. That's the name of the channel. I have it up on the screen right now. It's up. Give him to 50 so we can live stream on day one. Because guess what? We get to 4,000 watch hours immediately.
We will debut the name Wizard very shortly, just to be clear. But hey, if we can get to 50, that'd be great. That'd be awesome. I'd love to live stream with you guys day one.
You better like, subscribe to him and me, and stay magical, stay curious, and stay vashy.